Look at these markets trading up. Congress, meanwhile, is back in session today, though, with one of the top priorities being the nuclear vote with Iran. Let's bring in retired General Anthony Zinni in a Fox Business exclusive. He's a former commander-in-chief of the United States Central Command. Sir, it is an honor to have you with us. Welcome back.
Good to be with you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. First, let me get your take on the way Congress votes here. Doesn't even matter, General, at this point, given the fact that we know that the president has enough support for this deal?
Well, I think the deal will be judged on three things. Whether we can tell if the Iranians are cheating. That's not just the inspection and verification procedures, but by other intelligence sources we have. The second thing is whether the other countries that are in with us in this deal, the other five, are willing to reinstate sanctions if they do. And then I think the third thing that's not part of this agreement but is implied is that this will lead to other discussions or dialogues with the Iranians that will be positive, dealing with those Americans that they hold, their support for extremist groups in the region. So I think the judgment will really have to be made down the road a bit as we see how these things unfold.
Well, that's a really good point. Yeah, this is a really good point because, there was a lot of criticism around the fact that the 4 hostages being held in Iran are still there, and there was no discussion whatsoever about asking Iran to release those people. Given we just, lifting these sanctions, giving them $150 billion and totally increases the country's prospects.
Yes, I mean, all that is true. If Iran opens up, if their economy begins to flourish, if the people then decide they don't want to see the hardliners step back on this, if the other nations that are with us are willing to hold the line, if we're able to detect cheating, if they're willing to open up a dialogue on many other issues that we have with them, if they want to enter the community, international community of respectable nations, that's where all the gamble is on this agreement. Should we do it or should we not? That's a tough call at this point. And again, I think the judgment will be determined by how these things play out.
Right. And we all know, General, that regardless, the implementation and the ongoing relationship falls to the new U.S. president that we will see in a year and a half. Let me get your take on the most important priorities that person should be watching when it comes to national security and foreign policy for America.
Well, in terms of my personal beliefs, I think the ability to be commander-in-chief, the ability to understand foreign policy is critical. In this day and age of globalization and interdependency, there are no really domestic issues that are separate from foreign policy. If you look at issues like immigration, the environment, the economy, they all have aspects of foreign policy that are critical to determining them. So I want to see in a presidential candidate where they stand on all this. I've yet to hear it. I've yet to see us get into the debate and discussion, and I hope the media would draw this out, on what the policies are. Where's the substance? How do they see us dealing with this very confused and complex world? I'm not saying there aren't those out there, those candidates that may have the kinds of answers I'd be looking for, but we've yet to really get into that depth of understanding of where they stand on these issues.
In fact, one of the big issues for the markets recently, certainly, and for the U.S. economy has been China. And you're seeing a real commitment on the part of the Chinese to insert themselves in terms of market activity. They want to make sure to stop panic selling. But this is all efforts to navigate an economy, the largest, the second largest in the world, that's actually slowing from 11% to somewhere 5 or 6%. How does our new leader deal with China?
I think we have to be very careful. I think this has been a shock to China, not only that their economy has slowed, but every attempt to remedy their problems has not really worked out. The danger with authoritarian regimes is when they get into these situations, they then try to appeal to nationalism by creating an external potential enemy. We've seen China move their military around our Alaskan coast while the president was there, sort of asserting themselves in the Pacific. I mean, this is much the kind of thing you see North Korea do, or you see other nations with authoritarian regimes, like even Russia and Putin, is to appeal to nationalism by creating external threats or supposed threats. And this is what I would worry about, that they try to shift or distract from their internal problems, which I think economically are significant now.
So is China our friend or not?
I don't think we should look at it as either a friend or an enemy. We have interests, obviously, economic and security interests that require us to deal with China. Putting nations and categorizing them as friends or enemies is too black and white. Obviously, there's an interdependency that's critical. We do have places where our interests clash. So it's the ability to manage our relationships with China and not, worry about whether we're putting them in one black and white category or another.
Let me ask you, General, before you go, on the 2016 race, would you like to see Joe Biden enter the race?
Yes, I would. He has tremendous amount of experience. The Foreign Relations Committee, he was head of it, ranking member for a long time, many years in the Senate. Obviously, he's had his time as vice president. I think his temperament and character are, frankly, I think that's the best the Democrats have.
All right. We will leave it there. General, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marianne.
We so appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much, General Anthony Zinni. Sure.